All right, welcome to today's recap. This is Christian from Hertz Tribeca Trade Group with your end of day recap. So S&P finished up 20 basis points today. Got a little rocky this afternoon in terms of a little bit of selling pressure, but S&P hung on to the gains. We talked about this pre-market, how something didn't look right this morning with the Qs. So first of all, let me go to IWM. That was the outperformer in terms of, we'll talk about the major averages first, then I'll go into sectors, and then I'll talk about individual names, which there was plenty of those to talk about today. But let me just talk about the indices just for a quick second. So IWM small caps, really, really nice performance today, up 70 basis points, continuation from last week. Almost looks like a straight V recovery last week. So we're basically just about back to the highs of this year, just like that. Since 818, I guess we put in a low, and it's been a nice couple of weeks for the small caps. As soon as they broke the 200-day moving average, they're back above the 100, the 50, as well as that 200-day moving average. So, maybe they pause here at the highs. We'll see what we get for the rest of the week. One of the things that I thought was a little bit of an issue this morning, just looking at how the value areas were setting up. So I do have a video out pre-market which talked about this, but the small cap, Nasdaq opened up inside value for the week. And you could see we actually broke, and the Qs finished down 10 basis points. So a lot of really small tech outperformance today, but as far as like the major names, like the FANG names, for example, start with Apple. Apple was down 76 basis points. I'm on the 1 hour chart, so it looks a little bit different. But Facebook finished down. I think they all finished down. Maybe Netflix was the only one that was up today. Maybe possibly some strength on the back of the Emmys, but look at Google. Like these look sick. If you go to the sick in a bad way. Sorry. But they cannot. Every time they get to the 50-day moving average, it seems like they stall. Same thing with Amazon. Amazon had that one real nice day last Wednesday, and since then it's given it all back. I thought we might have a chance to kind of hold and go higher here, but nope. And back below the 50-day moving average. So really a frustrating trade if you've tried to stay long Amazon or Google. But in any event, that's kind of the bad. And I think that's because these are such big companies, they affected the Qs. But if you look at the semis, for example, really nice strength, up 1.4% today. You could just go through a couple of these names. Nvidia and AMD, I think, were the leaders in here, but it wasn't just those two names that were carrying the ball. Of course, they were the top two, but CAVM, ASML, Lam Research, CLAC, Micron, a lot of names over 2%. Even Xilinx and Applied Materials, which we've seen just repeat call buying just left and right in these two names. Again, more Applied Materials calls today, which really a lot of strength in this name since it reported earnings. Take a look at what this name has done. So we've talked about this name now several times. Here's where it reported earnings, and we saw call buying all into here, and through up here as well. So really, really strong. I did talk about today. If I've got the right symbol, PSCT, I believe it is. That's your small cap technology. Notice what this did today, plus 1.6%, almost I would say 1.7%. So really, this is where the strength has been. If you look at XLK, the large cap tech, up 10 basis points. So really different to see that versus the small cap tech ETF up 1.7% today. So just kind of tells you where the strength was. Also names like AAOI. This is something where I had an alert, where I thought it would be interesting, and just from right from the start of the day, and had a little bit of weakness with everything else around 2 o'clock, but finished on the highs. So really, really strong. Other names like Splunk finished on the highs today. We saw call buying in that name. NTNX was another name that we found in the trading room today, up over 5%. And then if you look at a couple other groups, the defense names were really strong today on the back of the of the deal name. But take a look at General Dynamics. General Dynamics is a name that I was just looking at last week. Really hasn't done anything, and then all of a sudden pops and is up. Through this range. So maybe a name to keep an eye on for tomorrow. There was a lot of that. There was a lot of names. There was a little bit of calls in iRobot. Remember, this name got smoked last week. So some calls right into the 200-day moving average. So a lot of trades like this today that were really, I think, good setups. There's a little bit of Microsoft calls, a little bit of Coors, Oclaro calls in the morning. Mosaic, another strong group. This was the fertilizers. If you remember, CF Industries, we saw a whole bunch of call buying late in the afternoon on Friday. Look at this thing, up 6.7%. This is a name that I'm long in cash, but did hit this VPOC and fell back. But definitely, just to kind of talk about, the theme of the day was just a lot of different pockets of strength. Then you could take a look at some of the biotech names as well. Clovis was this, I think, one of the stars of the day, up 10% today. BLCM was another name that has been on fire the last month, and saw some call buying midday today. So this was another one up 8.6%. So just amazing to see so many names really, really have a lot of power to them. We did see a little bit of put buying, and speaking of biotech, a little bit of put buying in the November XBI ETF. So there wasn't just all straight call buying today. There was a little bit of put buying in some things today, but URI, another chunky play in this one. United Rentals, they went out to 2019 in some calls. NRG was another name. I mean, look at this name, up 4%. So just when this thing looks like it's breaking down and maybe forming, I don't know, some kind of a head and shoulders pattern. It looks like left shoulder, head, possibly weird right shoulder, but big call buying in NRG today. And repeat January 26th as well as November 25s. So interesting that the call buying has been very active, just like it was towards the end of last week. And you start to look to see what events we have for the week, and we've got we have the Fed meeting that's on Wednesday. So there's also another GDX call buyer today. So I really think that they're buying GDX calls for this Fed meeting for something that comes out of Wednesday. So meanwhile, all these call buyers are coming into the market. I do think, my personal opinion is not to get over your skis with risk, over the tips of your skis with risk going into the Fed meeting. I do think with where did the VIX close today? The VIX closed back to a 10.15, perked up for a little bit around 2 o'clock today, but down to a 10. So this really gives me an uneasy feeling to see the VIX at a 10 going into a Fed meeting. So I would be very careful personally. I am going to be probably taking off some risk tomorrow, and trying to be a little bit light going into the Wednesday meeting in case we do get a dip. We've seen all these nice setups and all this risk in terms of option trades. Those trades will be there for you in a couple days if we get a dip. So that's kind of what I'm playing for. So that's the recap for today. And again, just a ton of option activity, especially in small cap names. Much different performance again in tech, small cap tech than overall large tech. Thanks for watching today's video. Have a great day, and I'll see you back tomorrow morning.